Before this video starts, I would just like to thank you for the support and over 100,000 views. I didn't really expect the number to reach so fast, as it took around 4 to 5 months, and I really appreciate it, and I do apologize for the inconsistent upload schedules, as I need to record mic without any sound around it. If you have any questions, please share them in the comments and I will respond if I have the information or just give my personal opinion on the subjects that you write down. Now let's get on with the video. The final class of Japanese pre-war design battleships began with the massive ships designed with powerful guns, thick armor, and the possibility to fight against multiple enemy battleships at once. They would play the main role in the Japanese battle line in the Kentai-Kessen, also known as the Decisive Battle. They are one of the most known types of battleships, yet little info and pictures are available, as most documents and photos have received some fire towards the end of the war. As the United States, Great Britain and France began expanding their fleets, a different approach would be made in the form of quality instead of quantity. Japan's industrial strength was limited, not held by the location of the country, as it's an island nation and island nations are very limited in resources. The country signed the Washington and then London naval treaties, which limited most, if not all types of warships to displacement and armament. The treaties limited all future battleships to a standard displacement of 35,000 tons and maximum gun caliber of 16 inches or 406 millimeters. It was also agreed that the countries wouldn't build any battleships for the next 10 years and would not replace any battleships that survived the treaty until it was at least 20 years old. As the 1930s rolled on, Japan's government began a shift towards ultranationalist militancy. This would also have a huge impact on shipbuilding, as Japan withdrew from the League of Nations in 1934 and renounced all treaty obligations. As Japan wanted to acquire resources producing islands in the Pacific, they would most likely fight the United States. Several leading members of the United States Congress pledged to outbuild Japan in wartime at least 3 to 1, and the first ideas of the Yamato began. 24 initial designs were put forth, each having difference in displacement, armament configuration and protection, as well as other aspects, for example propulsion. Final design called for a standard displacement of 65,000 tons and at full load over 71,100 tons. Armament was supposed to be 9 massive 460mm or 18.1-inch naval guns and 3 turrets. Each turret weighed more than a 1930s era destroyer. 5 of these ships were planned with at least 2 more as upgraded Super Yamatos under the A-150 battleship design, which called for even bigger 20.1-inch guns. Out of the 5 Yamato-class battleships, only 3 were completed, and out of those, 2 were true battleships and 1 was an aircraft carrier. Names of the 3 ships were Yamato, Musashi, and Shinano. Yamato was laid down in November 1937 at the Kure Naval Arsenal. She was commissioned just 9 days after Pearl Harbor on December 16th. Musashi was laid down at the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries in Nagasaki in March 1938 and was commissioned in August 1942. Shinano was laid down at the Yokosuka Naval Arsenal in May 1940 and was commissioned as an aircraft carrier on November 19, 1944. All of these ships were made in great secrecy to prevent enemy intelligence learning about their specifications, and they were constructed in a large enclosed building. Their displacement was at over 71,000 tons and over 72,800 tons at full load. Overall length was 263 meters or 862 feet 10 inches. Beam was at 38.9 meters or 128 feet and draft was at 10.4 meters or 34 feet. 12 water tube boilers generated 150,000 shaft horsepower. 4 shafts connected to 4-geared steam turbines gave the monsters the speed of 27 knots. The main gun could also fire the Type 3 anti-aircraft shell, their explosions being visually impressive. As-built armament consisted of 9 18.1-inch main guns and 3 triple turrets, 12 6.1-inch guns and 4 triple turrets, which were lifted off the Mogami-class cruisers, which in return received twin 8-inch guns, 6 twin 5-inch dual-purpose guns, 8 triple 25mm anti-aircraft guns, as well as 2 twin 13.2mm heavy machine guns would fit the anti-aircraft role besides the main guns. Aircraft were stored in the rear, each battleship carrying 7 float planes, while Shinano carried 47 aircraft. She would have a different armament consisting of 8 twin 5-inch guns, 35 triple 25mm guns, and 12 28-barrel 12cm anti-aircraft rocket launchers. Turret face armor was at 26 inches or 650mm, with 16 inches or 410mm thick belt armor. Deck armor is also thick at 8 inches. Armor composition consisted of vigorous hardened plates using a nickel chromium molybdenum alloy. Multiple bulkheads and counter-flooding compartments were fitted, although the class was vulnerable to torpedoes. Structural weakness existed near the bow, where the thinner armor plating proved to be insufficient, as demonstrated by the torpedo damage on Musashi in 1943. Shinano was commissioned on November 19, 1944 at Yokosuka, and she was ordered to depart for Curie, where the remainder of her fitting out will take place. The ship's doors mostly weren't watertight, which proved to be one of her main reasons for sinking. Only 3 destroyers would escort the large carrier. The Shinano carried 6 Shinyo suicide boats and 50 Ohka suicide flying bombs. The unit departed on the 28th, and on the next day, Shinano would be attacked by the USS Archerfish. On the morning of the 29th, Archerfish, which was spotted earlier, launched a salvo of torpedoes, hitting Shinano 4 times. The first hit towards the stern, the second hit flooded the outboard engine room, the third torpedo slammed further, flooding the number 3 boiler, and the fourth flooded the starboard air compressor room and ruptured an oil tank. The damage would at first be judged as manageable. The ship then sailed at full speed, which pushed even more water into the compartments, and the watertight doors failed as they weren't tested, and within a few minutes the carrier listed 10 degrees to starboard. This soon increased further, and at 10:18 Abe ordered crew to abandon ship. Shinano's list reached 30 degrees, and the Shinano sank 40 minutes later after capsizing. 1,435 men died, this number including Admiral Abe, which chose to go down with the ship. 1,080 men survived and were picked up by destroyers. The US Naval Intelligence originally didn't believe the claim of the sinking Shinano, but once the existence of the carrier was discovered, the men of the submarine received the Navy Cross. Musashi and Yamato were assigned to the 1st Battleship Division, with both Nagatos joining them. Musashi was commanded by Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto in January 1943, and the admiral left the flagship to personally direct Operation Aigo. He would soon be killed over at Bougainville by American fighters. As a response force to the attacks on Attu Island, Musashi, with the support of the carrier Hio, 2 heavy cruisers and 9 destroyers, sorted to the northern Pacific. She would be part of the main response force across the Pacific, but failed to find the American ships. 1 torpedo from the submarine Tani hit Musashi in the end of March, and repairs took until April 22nd. She would receive an increased number in the anti-aircraft department, these being the 25mm guns. 130 of these were the ship's main air defense weapons. Musashi took part in the Battle of the Philippine Sea, but was not attacked. Musashi's last battle was the Battle of Leyte Gulf in the end of 1944. As part of Kurita Center Force, Musashi, as well as 4 other battleships, multiple heavy and light cruisers, and a large amount of destroyers sailed to destroy the American landing ships. On October 24th, Kurita's ships were spotted by American recon aircraft from the carrier Intrepid. She would be attacked by SB-2C Hill Divers and TBF Avengers in multiple waves. Musashi was struck by an estimated total of 19 torpedoes and 17 bombs. Musashi capsized and sank at 1936. The wreck was found in 2015. In February 1942, Yamato became the flagship of Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's combined fleet. The battleship participated at Midway as the flagship of the main body behind Kido Butai. She would be attacked by a submarine in August of that year, but no torpedoes managed to hit the behemoth. Yamato mostly stayed at Truk throughout the Guadalcanal campaign due to a lack of 18.1-inch shore bombardment ammunition. She was part of the response force after American air raids throughout the Pacific. The submarine's skate hit the Yamato with 1 torpedo on December 25, 1943. During the repair time, the wing-mounted 6.1-inch guns were removed, and 12 5-inch guns as well as multiple 25mm guns were freighted. She stayed with Musashi during and after the Battle of the Philippine Sea in 1944. During the pounding of Musashi in the Sibuyan Sea, Yamato received 2 bombs. She sailed with the remaining force and found T-53 in the Battle of Samar. Her main guns hit the escort carrier Gambier Bay multiple times before the battleship was forced to evade incoming torpedoes. Kurita would be forced to retreat after the battle, losing more ships in the retreat. Japanese ships would also be attacked at port by American aircraft from Task Force 58, and Yamato got hit by a bomb. As a final plan, the Japanese sent off a small force to sail to Okinawa and beach themselves there in April 1945. This would include the Yamato, Yahagi, and 8 destroyers. Just before the departure, the Yamato received 22 25mm guns, bringing the total armament up to 9 18.1-inch guns, 6 6.1-inch guns, 24 5-inch guns, and 152 25mm anti-aircraft guns, as well as 4 heavy machine guns. The Japanese force was spotted by an American aircraft, which would send out reports to American carriers, which launched multiple waves of aircraft. Yamato would only receive 1 torpedo and a pair of bombs, however her escorts received serious damage. 2 destroyers would sink, and 1 was heavily damaged. The light cruiser Yahagi was dead in the water, later getting hit by multiple bombs and torpedoes, and the ship sank not long after. At 13:20, a new attack wave was spotted, and Yamato became the primary target of American aircraft. At least 8 torpedoes and 15 bombs hit the battleship, the torpedoes hitting her on the port side to capsize the battleship sooner. A last wave spotted Yamato and attacked it, hitting her with 5 torpedoes. As the order to abandon ship was given, the Yamato received 4 more torpedoes as well as 3 bombs. 6 more torpedoes hit the starboard side as the ship started capsizing. Her main magazines detonated. The sound of the explosion was reported to have been heard from the Japanese mainland, and the shock of the explosion knocked some American aircraft out of the sky. The mushroom cloud reached up to about a third of the height of the cloud made by an atomic bomb in the city of Hiroshima. A second explosion occurred as the shipwreck plummeted down the seafloor. Only 280 of Yamato's crew survived.